Giving credit to the savior, so you know I'm approved. Whole team Olympiads, cause I run with the best. Send the shots, not a problem that I need to address. If the message leave them blue, then they left it on red. Olive Garden rappers, most of y'all just here for the bread.
This is the Grounded Podcast. This is our, first episode.
Yes.
Man, please bear with us because
this is crazy. This is really crazy because I don't even know, 2-3 years ago, I did not even imagine us being here.
Honestly, if God did not say, do it, I guarantee you it was not even in my plans. Not to say it like that, but not in the plans I made for myself, not his plans.
I also think a lot of the things that we've been through these last couple years really put us where we are right now.
Because remember, we were going to do this a year ago.
Right.
We were going to do this a year ago, but also I feel it's kind of like distraction. You know what I mean? But also we have these conversations. It's just we're not filming them.
Right.
We have them all the time.
Yeah, so let's just get that squared away. You and I talk like this every single day. Pretty much every single day. And we, it's just normal for us. And now we just feel like we need to share.
It's not even that. When I tell you we was not going to do this. No. But
the devil was trying me. I can tell you that.
I know.
The devil was just so many obstacles that were just coming in between my personal relationship with God, not even factoring in our own relationship, that just kept stopping me. And honestly, there would be days a year ago where we would talk about it and then I would talk myself out of it.
Yeah. So I feel even though we were at different stages in our journey, we're still, everybody has their own walk. So everybody has, we're at different stages in our walk. I feel like it wasn't even just hard on your journey with God. We, at one point, we weren't talking. Right. Not like we were beefing, but it was just I was up, you were down. I was down, you was up.
Right.
And then at one point, I think we were okay, we're really going to do this. And we got God at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it was I couldn't,
right.
help you. You couldn't help. It was just all right, we just can't do it. And then when we decided to finally do it, a few months ago, back to back attacks, but we were ready.
Trials and tribulations.
We were ready this time, though.
Yeah.
Even think about, how yesterday went or this morning or the past week,
honestly, I think for me it was just knowing what to say or getting over being the judgment that's gonna come with us having these conversations. Not everybody's gonna see it the way that we do. Not everybody's gonna see it who are these people? Where did you come from? And it's so crazy because I was just sitting there literally the other day or a couple months ago, mm-hmm. thinking what am I going to say? What am I going to say that's going to be of value for people to listen to?
Yeah, but also you have to realize when you hear that voice, that's not God telling you that. Right. Because if God told you to do this, that means what you say has value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, hasn't he been doing, the enemy's been doing everything
he can
to try to make us not
be grounded.
You're funny. You've been good at that the past few days. You've been real good at that.
That's what we stand on.
But really, it's anything to even distract you. If you're not looking to God, you can get thrown off by anything. You can even get thrown off by things that God blessed you with because you turn all your attention to that blessing and to that thing rather than looking at the person who gave it to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's why when you see, how people start churches and then you're like, whoa, what happened? They stopped spending as much time with God and their ministry became their God. You know what I'm saying? Lowercase g, let's be clear. Lowercase g. But it's important, distractions can come from anywhere and
everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, even people called from God to minister to other people can cause a distraction for you because they get distracted, you know. We're human, we live in, you know, we are in the flesh. So we don't live in the flesh, but we are in the flesh. And people just, anything around you, just the simplest things, the devil comes and just takes it away from you just to make you think that, no, you need to be going a different direction. But it's like, that's not where God called me to go. That's not the direction that God called me to go on. And a lot of times with these distractions, you got to check in.
Yeah, because sometimes the distractions feel more comfortable, or they're like, oh, but that looks kind of perfect, right? It's easy. But when has God given somebody like, this is what you're gonna do, and they not had to, you know what I mean?
Struggle.
Seen any resistance, anything. Like, not even struggle 100%, but like, it's not like you're just gonna walk through like, oh, okay, like, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like sometimes it's also, I think when we've gotten closer to God, we've been able to recognize distractions more often, because even people can be distractions to you and not even realize it. You know what I mean? Like, they could think that they're helping you, but it's really like, you're not, that's not what I'm dealing with right now. That has nothing to do with whatever path I'm trying to take, you know?
Yeah, accountability as well holds you to not be distracted. I know for us, you know, the minute I'm feeling something, or like, you know, we literally have times like we sense each other, like literally out of nowhere we'll just text or call like, hey, are you good? Like, everything okay? And it's not even like I gave you a sign that something was wrong with me, or you gave me a sign that something, it's just something that we feel with each other.
There was a pastor and he said, like, if the enemy can't get you to sin, he will send you distractions. And I was like, that makes so much sense, you know? Like, even though people of God can sometimes be distracted because they're people, the enemy will send people to you, you know what I mean? Like, just to knock you off and to do more than distract you, but also to distract you. Like, there are a lot of people with, like, I feel like I'm saying like a lot, but it's okay. I feel like there's patterns and cycles that are in people's lives that, you know, you want to break free from, but it takes discipline, you know? And a lot of the cycles and patterns are distractions, but also when you're not disciplined, the distractions keep you from breaking those cycles and patterns. So in itself, it's a cycle.
Right. No. That's very true.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me, it's like a couple years ago, what is it, like maybe like 2019, I quit one job to go to another job, and everything felt right about making the move, and then after the move, everything just felt,
it was like, wait,
everything just felt wrong, you know? Like, you remember, I was calling you all the time, like, telling you, like, almost every single day, like, what was going on.
Do you remember what I was saying?
Yeah, like, I know now that that's not where God wanted me to be. I placed myself kind of there, in a sense, because now, whenever I even apply, like if I'm looking for a job, I even apply for something, or I'm looking to start anything, I just can't do it without praying over the project or the task, because I feel like instead of making all these turns to get where I want to go and trying to make it my way and navigate through life thinking that, oh, this is where I need to go next and this is where I need to go next, it's just like, how about we just take a break and pray on it and ask God to find you the direction that you want to need to go, so that way, yes, there'll still be trials and tribulations on that path, because there's nothing that God gives us that doesn't have those kind of tribulations going through them. But the best part about knowing that it's the path that God gave you is that at the end there's always a reward there.
And he's covering you through the trials and tribulations because it's his journey, you know what I mean? So it's important to remain aligned with him, because otherwise anything can come, you know what I'm saying? Like even what's going on in the world could be distracting to someone, because it can be scary. It can be scary, or it could look scary. Not be scary, but it could really look scary if you're not looking up as well. You're just looking at, oh my gosh, I saw this on the news. Oh my gosh, another person. Oh my gosh, another person. And it's just kind of like, that becomes what you consume all the time. You're gonna be in fear. You're gonna have anxiety. You're gonna be depressed, rather than seeing what's going on and being like, okay, God, what are you doing? Like, what's going, and not like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? But like, okay, what is your will in this? What is, you know what I'm trying to say?
It's so crazy that you were saying, like, look up. Because the first thing that came to my mind in hearing you say that is just like, Peter got distracted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so people think that, especially like people who are non-Christians, have this idea that Christian people have it just so easy.
Oh my gosh, you guys, like, it's supposed to be so easy for you. You guys have no accountability.
But
it's so much more.
It's so much more than that. It's really so much more than that. And like, going back to Peter, like, he was a man of God. He was one of the 12 disciples, and on that boat with God, God's just sitting there just sleeping. Just like, there's a whole storm going around, but I'm just gonna take a nap.
And they're like, hello,
like, can you do something about this right now?
Right. But you also have to think, when you think of Peter, is like, even though he got distracted, he had faith enough to get out of the boat. Because back then, like, I've seen videos of people when they've shown like what it looks like in the middle of the ocean at night. You can't see anything. So I always wonder, like, would I have had faith enough to get out of the boat? Would I have stepped out of the boat? Dang. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, really think about it. Like, it's always like, oh, he took his eyes off of God and started to sink. But he took that step. He took his step out into the path that God told him.
That's where we are right now. Because we're stepping out.
And
don't know where this is going out. He just said, do it. And we're doing it.
I know. But I feel like for a while we were like, okay, and like,
but that's why
what though?
Just like right now, when you were like, I don't know if I would have had that kind of faith that Peter had to step out of the boat. This is us stepping out of the boat.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
This is us stepping out the boat right now, because he gave us a vision. He told us what he wanted us to do.
But that's all he said.
He
just said, start the podcast.
And then from there, it's kind of like, it's in your hands, God. So you tell me, you speak through me. You tell me what you want me to do. Tell me what the audience that you want me to reach to needs to hear, so that way I can be the voice for you, also.
Like, we literally pray, like, take over. Like, I don't even want to be speaking. Like, you need to decrease me and increase you, because I don't need my flesh hopping up and I go on a tangent. Like,
the flesh.
And get distracted. The flesh will have you distracted every time.
But that's why we gotta stay grounded.
You're right. You hear that, people?
No, but it's true.
No,
it's really true.
And it's grounded in the word. That's really what it is, because it's not about, oh, I go to church on Sundays and leave the parking lot and turn my music back on. It's about, what does your week look like? After Sunday, what does your week look like? Right. Are you really grounded in the word? Like, and when you're reading the word, are you just reading it just to, oh, okay, I said I read it? Or are you really seeing, like, what is being said?
Being in scripture, like staying in scripture. And it's not about always just picking up a Bible and just reading some words, like you were just saying, on it. Do you understand what you're reading? Like, I often wonder, like, I just ask so many questions. Like, if I don't understand something, I'm like, it's not me questioning God. It's just me trying to understand, like, God, where were you trying to go with this?
There's times where, like, my mind, I'm like, I don't get it. And I'm like, God, please give me understanding. When I tell you, I keep reading it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you meant like X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And it's part of the Holy Spirit being with you, is that he can tell you exactly what he meant by it. And it's not about like, oh, I read a whole book today, I have read a whole chapter. If all you can do is read a verse, and dissect that verse and meditate on that verse and see like, God, what did you mean in this? Because it's not by coincidence that when, especially in the beginning, you go to read your word and you get sleepy, or you go to read your word and you're thinking like, oh, I did have a good lunch today, like I should go there again. All of a sudden your mind just starts to, you know what I mean? That's not a coincidence.
It's crazy that you say that, because there literally would be time before my faith is where it is right now where I would just turn on a sermon. Back when, when COVID happened and we had to shut down and we couldn't like go to a physical church, I would just turn on a sermon. It's like, I'm not feeling it today. But then I would go and watch a 2-hour movie that has nothing.
You have to push past. When he says resist the devil and he will flee, he doesn't mean just, okay, I rebuke you. No, push past that I don't feel like it.
Right.
That distraction that wants you
because that hour that you're spending watching a movie on Netflix or listening to a song or scrolling, people don't realize how much time, like,
and how negative.
I hate the fact that iPhones tell you your screen time, because I look at that and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? When I realized I was spending so much time on my phone and not for the right reasons, I'm like, this needs to change.
Yeah, I had to put limits on certain apps.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So that I wasn't just losing time.
Yeah,
like,
just scrolling through
Instagram.
Instagram.
And the thing is, you're scrolling into it. It doesn't mean anything. Like, why? What are you gaining from being on social media? Social media can bring you anxiety.
But that time that you're passing, that time that you're passing just scrolling could be time that you spend with God, but because that time just seems like so much time, like effort that you have to put into, and it's really doesn't require that much effort.
The truth is, though, if you're spending more time, is your phone an idol to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's taking you and distracting you and taking you away from time that you're spending with God, to the point where it's like, I'd rather spend time with my phone doing who knows what. Is your phone an idol? That when you wake, is it a distraction? First thing you wake up in the morning, are you grabbing your phone? You know what I mean?
Right.
When you fall asleep, are you falling asleep scrolling? Are you, you know what I mean? Every single thing, is your phone like your extra limb? Because really, if we're led by God and we're spirit led, everything should be ran through God. You know what I mean? He's the center of everything. But is your phone the center of your everything?
I mean, people be more committed to their phones than to their own relationships.
Okay, but people be more even your job can distract you.
You know what's crazy to me? How, because we know we're making a paycheck Monday through Friday, I ain't ever gonna be late. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be on time. And if you ask me to work some overtime, I'll get that time and a half.
I'm gonna do it.
But it's Saturday night and it's okay, let's get ready to go to church tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Oh,
I'm tired.
I don't know if I can make church tomorrow morning because I had a long week.
Or how about this, you in service and it's just going a little long. You like, I got brunch.
Okay.
The game is on.
Okay.
The game is on. When are we gonna get out?
Okay.
But let the game go into triple overtime. You're not saying
you're not
saying I need to go get to my work.
Yeah, there's no distraction there, which is so crazy to me. Like,
because the thing is, I put this recently in my bio. Worship is a lifestyle, so it's not about like. It's okay. It's not about the fact that you sing a couple of songs and you pray a couple of prayers. Worship is, how are you living? Are you living a life like, are you worshiping money? Are you doing any and everything for money? Does money drive you? Does money push you?
It's a distraction.
Are you doing everything for people's validation or opinions? Are you doing everything, you know what I mean? Like,
it's so crazy that you say that, because we honestly, in my opinion, we live in a world where people just want acknowledgement, and it's not always the right kind of acknowledgement.
They don't care.
As long as you notice me, it doesn't matter what I need to do in order for you to notice me, but this is what I'm going to do. in order to get noticed. And
that's where the saying, all publicity is good publicity came from. But that is not true.
It's not. And not all money is good money. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not God's money.
Thank you. So, and the things that, you know how they say, like, the things that you go out of God's will to get, you have to stay out of his will to keep. That's true. Because if he didn't want it for you, if you decide that you want to live for God, the thing that he didn't want for you, that's what's going to go.
Exactly.
But are you going to be able to take that? Are you going to be able to handle that? You know what I mean? There's some instances where he might say, okay, just let it go. And maybe he'll give it back to you later when you can actually handle it the way that he wants you to handle it.
Right.
But if he takes it and he doesn't give it back, are you okay with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we also have to see, some things aren't distractions from time. Some things are distractions from your righteousness. Because you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes being righteous in certain environments doesn't fit the bill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like also a lot of people, I used to do this. I used to disassociate, you know what I mean? Go through life because it's harder to deal with issues. It's hard to deal with healing. It's hard to deal with all of these things rather than distract yourself with a movie. Right. Distract yourself with your own thoughts. Distract yourself with people. Distract yourself with travel, parties, whatever. But rather than sitting down and dealing with the root of whatever the issue is.
No, I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. Instead of being distracted and looking everywhere else, that's why God says, like, meditate on the things above. Keep your eyes on him, you know. Cast down every imagination and high thing that exalts yourself against his knowledge. Take every thought captive and make them submit to Christ. Because otherwise, those things are going to consume your mind.
Exactly.
And when they consume your mind and your emotions are attached to one thing. So like when your emotions are getting attacked, or not even attacked, but they're feeling a certain kind of way, it's because of what you've been feeding your mind. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the word says, like, as a man thinketh, so is he. That's because it goes into your heart and your feelings and the way that you act and all of that. So it's important not to be distracted. If you're going to be distracted in something, be distracted with the word. Be distracted with, you know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, to that point, I guess for me, what I do to not, or when I need to be present and focused on the word or my time with God, is I do it in a time where it's convenient because of my life and how everything that I have going on in my life, you know, with my daughter and, you know, in relationships. So I have to find a time where it can just be me and him. Right. So the best time for me is when everybody goes to sleep. I can read the word, you know, pray on the word, or sometimes I just sit still, you know. The biggest message for me for the last couple years, maybe 2-3 years now, was God telling me, Michelle, be still. Yeah. You're moving too much. Yeah. You're doing too much. Let me. Yeah. And the crazy thing about it, it's like every single time I've had a moment where I was feeling anxiety or overwhelmed, or I knew that I was doing too much.
But you couldn't stop. You went.
I just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And the way that it stopped was, and you've witnessed me telling you this, like I literally would be driving on the 405 and I just hear a voice and it just says, be still. Yeah. Or I'm listening to my music, and in that music there's a line, a verse, or something in there that just speaks to me so clear. So clear. Yeah. Because when God, when God talks to you, there is no, was that you talking to me, God? Yeah. No, it's not. It's very clear, and I know
when you learn His voice. At first, it is a little bit like, what?
I know personally now in my life, like when He's talking to me, how clear He is with me. I don't have to question. Right, did you mean this, God? Or did you mean that, God? Or was that really you talking, God? No, He is so clear with me. There's just no denying
and
that
I know
it wasn't Him.
Yeah, I know multiple times that you've said that he would tell you something, and even if you wanted to ignore it, he would send me, or he would send your mom.
Yes.
So even when you want to distract yourself, he's going to get to you. He's going to be like,
don't even get me
you
started.
don't want to hear it.
No, literally, like, the way Jonah tried to run away from the God.
I know.
That literally was my life in 2020. Like,
I know.
I was going through so much. In every kind of relationship you can think about, like, not even my relationship with my significant other, but like even my friendship relationships, my work relationships, like everything was just, it was chaotic, you know. And because I was born into a Christian home, like I've always had the foundation,
Right?
So it never truly left me. And ever since I was a child, I was always on fire for God, like going to Bible studies. I would lead Bible studies as a kid, you know, just always the one that's raising their hands and just being up front and just want to volunteer for everything. My mom had me like in plays and like singing in the church and all. So I was my foundation is in the church.
And then you got older.
Somewhere around, you know, somewhere after high school, let's just be completely transparent. Somewhere after high school, I didn't lose it. I let it. I got distracted. There you go. I got distracted. Like, it was always there. I would be in the club on Saturday, and best believe I was still in church on Sunday.
I definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I knew, because I knew that's where I needed to be. I wasn't doing it right though. Like, I'm not telling anybody that's okay, because it's not. No. I'm not.
It's your story.
Yeah, it's my story. So I would literally be hungover, you know, Sunday nights as well too, going into Monday mornings, going into church. Going into work.
It's only a few hours.
Like a hangover. Like, not understanding. I understood that I still needed to be in the church, but I had one foot in and one foot out.
But also not, even growing up in the church, I feel like you don't get a good grasp on what it means to be a believer in Jesus until you take the journey for yourself. Exactly. You know what I mean? You're not just going to church, right? You're not just going, oh, okay, I need to be in church because I need to be in church. No, where you're at home by yourself on a Thursday and you pick up the word, or you know what I mean? You're on your knees.
And everybody's journey is different, because I'm not going to say that you need to be a certain age, because God wasn't even a certain age. God was a kid when he, you know, he was called upon. But so he was like, well, I mean, he knew, we all,
But there are kids out here, and mine will be too, in Jesus' name. They will be serving the Lord. You know what I mean? They are filled, you know, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. But to your point, when you said like there was a point where you were distracted, when you were younger, you were so on fire for God, and somewhere along the way you lost your way. And it wasn't like losing your way, but kind of.
I just had one foot in, one foot in and one foot out.
But that's out.
We all know
that's out.
The Bible, it's there is no in between. Yeah. Like, to be in between, it still means you're indecisive. Yeah. And there is no indecisiveness with God. You know, it's either you're in or you're out.
The fence belonged to the enemy. Yeah. So being on the fence.
Being on the fence is still, because being on the fence means you can be persuaded either direction.
Yeah.
And the point of all of this is to be firm, to be grounded in one side. Yeah. You know, and in order to do that, you have to pick. It's either one or the other.
Exactly. He says you can't serve two masters.
And I spent so many of my early adult years in the in-between. Yeah. Because I wanted to be of the world, but I also wanted to be I knew that, and I have my connection with God is just, it goes years and years back. So for me, it wasn't that I knew what I was doing was wrong, or I knew what I was doing was right. It wasn't about wrong or right. It was just about being distracted and being led by the world instead of by the Spirit, you know, and knowing that. And it also doesn't help when you're surrounding yourself with people who don't believe.
It was a lot of people in the industry,
or halfway believe, because, you know, everybody throws in, I want to thank God, you know, I said, I want to thank God for X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, are you saying that because it's what people are supposed to say?
Nah, but now I'd be like, what God are you talking about, for real? Like, who is your God?
You can't tell me that you want to thank God and then you are doing, you know, doing of the world stuff. You know, that does not make any sense to me. the biggest thing too is the power of the tongue. Like, you can't be of God and follow what he's saying. And no one's perfect. I'm not saying that I follow the Bible to the T of everything that it says in there, but I do try my best to live my life the way that God would want me to live it. And I don't want to put or say anything in this world that would stop or block the blessings that he has for me after seeing what this world has to offer. It's not what I want.
Especially how you were talking about the power of the tongue. It's very possible to be your own adversary. You know what I mean? It's very clear what God says about his people. It's very clear about, God, the identity that God's giving you. It's very clear about the promises that God says are available to you. But when you start talking against his word about yourself, about things that he's promised you, about promises that he has given all believers, you're speaking against, you know what I'm saying? The things that he's made available to you. And at the end of the day, it's essentially, you're saying God's a liar. And when he said that you are more precious than rubies, when he said that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you're saying the opposite. So he's not a liar. So then, you know what I'm trying to say?
I completely,
So even sometimes you can start off distracted and then that end up just being your normal. You know what I mean? That ends up being the way that you speak. That ends up being the way that you think. That ends up, you know what I mean? Because there was a point where I was distracted, but there were also things that anxiety was my normal at one point, because, and it didn't help that the world was like, oh, that's normal. That's not normal. It's not a normal thing.
We live in the world where we want to normalize everything, and not everything can be normalized. It's and not okay to normalize everything. Like, and normalizing does not mean that it's not the same thing as fairness. That's completely two different things. Acceptance, I can accept you for who you are.
I think it's also the word love, because people say like, but you're supposed to love it. I do
love you. I have a spiritual love for everyone. There's so many different kinds of ways to show love, to express love, I have an admiration or a foundation of love that God's given me to have for other people.
Right, but that doesn't mean I have to condone your practices.
Yes.
It doesn't mean I have to condone the fact that you're in divination or you're I mean, we're all sinners. Well, we're not sinners anymore, but you know what I mean? Everybody's sinned. That I don't have to love the things that you're doing to love you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. There's even parts of, I used to tell you, just like you would tell me, like, well, I don't like when you do that. And it's like a character trait or a personality trait that we developed by trying to protect ourselves in the world. And it didn't mean that I didn't love you, but it was telling you like, hey, this trait or this attitude or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't love it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not that, because we've had our conversations where we've came to each other like, look, I don't know.
I think that's what's so that's what's so beautiful about our relationship. Because when the first time it ever happened was back in 2015.
It didn't happen in high school. No, because we weren't as close.
No. Well, not that we weren't as close. I think mentally we weren't there. Yeah, we were in a different space. Like, we didn't have the worries, if you want to say that.
There were
other things that were, like, this. We're talking about, like, college distractions now, like, like you're around other people, so obviously who you surround yourself with, you pick up on things subconsciously or consciously that other people around you. So if you start being around a bunch of people who act snobby, you're gonna gonna pick up snobby tendencies, because that's who you're around, and you might not see it that way, but these are the people you hang around with. So until someone calls you out on it, you're not going to know.
Even something as small as your language. So you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we used to cuss, like...
Oh my gosh. I'm like, no. Like, and, just... I just want everybody to know that I am not perfect, because I still to this day
She'll
slip up. But I think I'm perfect now in the sense that I have a daughter, so it changes everything about the way.
Whenever you slip, you catch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it'd be like, and I stop myself, and I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to say this, you know.
Yeah.
So it's I'm more aware. I'm more in tune with who I am, and I just know that if I in a day where I feel like God probably wouldn't have been proud of me a day, whether it's my character or my attitude, because it's not even about so much everything that we say, like how we present, how we present ourselves. And that's what people think is just like, if I don't say it, it won't matter. But you thought it and he heard it. Yeah. So it's still there. You know, maybe you don't know what I'm thinking. But he knows your intention. He knows where your heart is. I could sit here all day and be like, oh my God, Marissa, like, I love you. You're my best friend. And like, you know, I never want us to come between us. And then secretly in the back of my head, God's listening to me say, you know, I hate her, I'm jealous of her, or something like that.
But that's what happens when, you know, when we get confused, when God removes friendships, and it's like, oh my gosh, what happened? He knew exactly their intentions. He knew what they were thinking. He know, that's another episode. I'm just saying that is true.
But no, removing distractions, and any kind of distraction, anything that puts a hold between you and God, remove it.
I mean, even your parents.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anything that puts a hold on your relationship with God, you have to remove it.
Yeah, or you carrying yourself in a godly way, like we were saying before. We've had our friendship things, and I think the last one we had was probably 2019, 2020, and it was like, I think we both kind of were like, you know what, this is the I'm tired, like.
But I also think now that I'm looking back on it, you know, that was the devil trying to get in between us.
Because now, you know what I mean? It's really.
But it's good though, because to say that any one relationship is so perfect that there's never any problems, I think it's completely a lie. Because if you know, we get mad at God when things happen the way things happen in our lives that we don't understand, or, you know, we lose someone unexpectedly, someone that we know is living in Christ, but it doesn't understand me, like, why would God take them away from me, you know? So
those things are hard to deal with.
Those things are hard to deal with, but we still have to stay focused.
Yeah, and still have to trust that, like,
trust that there's a reason why he does everything in our lives. He removes, he places everything. And I, you know, the one thing that I do thank God is everything that's happened the way that it's happened in my life. Yes, maybe there could have been a different way for me to go about it, so I could have eliminated some of the pain and mental suffering that I went through. But I also feel like in the back of my head, I tell myself sometimes, well, Michelle, if you didn't go through these, do you think you would be where you are right now? Or do you think you would have took longer than what you already took to get to where you are right now, by just not, you know, staying focused and staying grounded and listening to God and turning back to him, honestly, really.
And you can minister to different people when you've gone through, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that it was his will for you to go through that hurt, but since you did go through the hurt, he turned it for your good. Like, he brought you through it, and you're at a different place, and now you can minister to people about that, because you're not alone. No matter what it is that you're going through, you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not alone in it. And it's just amazing to see how he can turn those things around. And it's even amazing, like, sometimes there can be things that are going on that are keeping you distracted that you don't realize are a distraction. And then later on, after you go through, like, even going on the path that God wants you to, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can see so clearly. You know what I mean? And it doesn't even mean that it has to be a bad thing. It doesn't mean that it had to be of the enemy. It could have been what God, you know what I mean, what God has given you or what God has told you. But if you're so focused on that thing, he can't even do it for you, because you're fixated on it, and you're not allowing him to do the work to get you to the point where he can you know what I'm saying, fulfill his promise.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people live by let go, let God, because that is true.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the things that we don't want to let go is what God needs us to let go in order for us to continue the road or to see the vision of where he wants us to be or where he's trying to place us in our lives. In order for us to see that, we have to let go of certain things.
And even letting go in a concept, like we had to let go of this podcast. You know what I mean? We at first we were like, okay, we're going to plan what we're talking about. We have a topic, but I feel like he just wanted us to just...
There are so many times, my intention was to start talking about one thing, and then God's like, you know what, actually,
no,
this is what we're going to talk about today.
That's what I'm saying,
you know, like, I know this is what we prepared for, but, you know, something happened, and now this is where we need to be. This is where we need to go. This is what they need to hear.
Yeah, so what even I was struggling with, like, I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, I was like, we have to make sure that this doesn't become a distraction because this is a big project, but we also have 2 other projects that we're working on. We have to make sure that it's not a distraction. And that was because although I know that God said to do it, you know, we both have a thing with control. You know what I'm saying? We have a thing with control. So he was saying, like, even with this podcast, he was telling me, like, take your hands off, like, let it go. Let it go. And I was like, God, how can I let it go? But what do you mean? Like, you're telling me to do it, but you want me to let it go. How does that work?
Right.
How does that work? And it's just like, do the steps. Trust that I did tell you to do that.
Right.
I trust that I said what I said, and I promised you what I promised you, and just take it at that. You know what I mean? Let me worry about the steps to get there. Let me worry about the process, because these things are bigger than us. They were never meant to be carried by us. We were never supposed to be able to do it.
Right.
So, and we can't alone. We can absolutely not do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Like, I feel like he put us in this place where we are now in our faith. If we would have did this last year, I don't know, like, if we would be as grounded as we are now. But I think now where we are is that he knows that we trust him. So he can say, start it. And we'll be like,
because
okay.
We did the work for sure. You know, we did the work. Yeah.
So,
to the point that you were saying, like, there's just no way we would have been here
because there were so many other things going on, and it wasn't that God wasn't working in those things, but it was just that we weren't like this. Okay, God, what do you want? We were looking at these things like, okay, but it looks like this, God, so how is what you said? Oh, it looks like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, financially, anything, you know, it's like, how do those 2 things go together? So now I'm confused. Now I think I heard you wrong.
Right.
Did you say it right? But now we have an understanding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have an understanding that they're not mutually exclusive.
Right.
It's walk by faith, not by sight. But we were trying to do both. Like, I believe, but like I see also. Like, I believe, but I'm looking. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And I was talking to one of my friends earlier, and I was telling her, because I heard it, that the enemy sometimes will distract you with facts, because God gives you truth, but the enemy will distract you with facts. Fact is that the economy is going where it's going.
Okay.
It's a fact, right?
Okay.
But God told you that he wasn't going to let you slip, right? But if you're struggling, you're like, oh my gosh, like, what do you mean?
Because you see what the enemy is telling you to be true. Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Fact and
yeah, because I'm not saying that the enemy doesn't lie, because he does, but he uses a version of a lie that has the truth in it So it's so easy to be persuaded if you're not, if it's so easy to be persuaded if you're not standing still in yourself or standing still in the word and like constantly reading and constantly praying and on your knees, like, looking for wisdom, looking for guidance. Because I'm telling you, back to what we were talking about earlier, I cannot do anything without putting prayer on it first, because I need to know that whatever I'm walking into, God is walking in it with me. And that's what he wants from me, not because that's what I want from myself, because I spent so many years doing what I thought I wanted for myself, that God would just follow my lead, but it was nope. I need to follow his lead.
Exactly. And it's also, I keep saying, like, I heard somebody, I did, how you were saying you spent so many years doing what you wanted to do. It's important not to let your desires stand in the way of your discernment, but also don't let your discernment keep you from doing the work.
Right.
Keep you from the discipline that it's going to take in order not to be distracted.
Right.
Because your discernment's going to tell you, like, ooh, something's not right. But sometimes you could not recognize your discernment. You know what I mean? You could not recognize, like, that little in your spirit, you know? So a lot of these things take discipline,
right,
to recognize, like, oh, I'm distracted. Let me get it right. Oh, did I ask God before I made this decision? You know what I mean? And it just takes, like, you and I have had so many trial and error of, like, oh, I thought, like, I was putting God in it, but we really weren't. We were kind of, like, doing it and then being like, okay, God, like, there's a spot for you, like, right here, rather than putting God in it and seeing how much space there is for everything else.
It's such a beautiful thing when, like, even, like, now, where I'm like, Marissa, I want to do something. And you're like, okay, well, let's pray about it.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I won't even entertain it until I'm like, okay, but did we talk about it? Yeah. Because otherwise, I feel like even if it's a good thing, the timing also has to be right, because that's also how things, you know what I mean, distractions come. Because if you're not in the right season, if you're not in the right time, things can happen, and then now you're overwhelmed. Now you have no time to sit here and talk to God, because you're going up here, you're going over there, you're doing this, you're doing that. You might be doing it for God, but you don't have the time. You know what I'm saying? You didn't allow yourself the time, because it wasn't supposed to happen right now for you. Maybe he wanted it for you when you had more help. Maybe he wanted it for you when you came in contact with these people who knew what they were doing, so you didn't have to jump in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, like, remember last year we kept saying, like, 2022 was, like, the year of preparation.
Yeah.
To where we are right now.
Yeah.
And it literally, that's what there was so many distractions getting here.
Yeah.
And now we're here.
And when I mean getting here, we mean even to 10 minutes before we started filming.
Because let me tell y'all, when we were prepping and doing...
We almost were like, yeah, like... They were even doing we were supposed to start filming yesterday. They started doing construction. Oh my God. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's not a coincidence.
One thing after... And I kept telling you yesterday, I'm like, Marissa, the devil's trying me today.
We both woke up just like irritated. Yeah. We both woke up irritated yesterday, and it was just like good that we had a tech day rather than, because I feel like we wouldn't have been able to do this like this, because we would have been annoyed, like, yeah, okay, I don't really feel like talking, but not even like not allowing ourselves to be used, you know what I mean, because we're just in our heads, really.
But I think that's why, you know, having this podcast, you know, and what we stand on to, you know, to work to be grounded, you know, to work to stay grounded, you know, in itself, you know, that's why we're here. Yeah. You know, to talk through some of these stuff, to share testimonies, to hear testimonies, you know,
to edify each other. Like, I think that it's not like, it will help people. I really do believe that. And I believe that that's part of also why we've been being attacked so hard recently. But I think it will help us. Right. You know what I mean? I think that it will, I don't know, like, have you ever had a moment where you were like ministering to somebody or talking to somebody or helping somebody through it, and then God kind of like tells you, like, are you listening to yourself? Like, you need to.
I think that happens to us every single time that we talk to each other.
It's like, you need to hear that too, because there's a lot of times where I'll be encouraging you, and then God will kind of like perk my ears up, like, did you hear what you said? Right. Believe it for yourself.
Yeah, no, that always happens with us, because we just. The thing is, we're always there for everyone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, like, now, I think he's just telling us, like, now it's time for me to be what I need to be to both of us.
Yeah. You know? And I think us being there for people, that's a gift that was given, but we didn't know how to handle it right. Yeah. And we weren't handling it with God, so it became overwhelming, and it became a distraction from everything else. Right. It affected our health. It affected the way we thought, the way we handled our relationships, because we felt like it was our duty, you know what I mean, to help, which it's a gift that God gave us, and we're now using it in the right way. But before, it wasn't a gift. It was a burden. Right. Because we were carrying it. Now we're not carrying it. We're giving it to God. You gave me this gift. Show me how to use it. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah.
I think
but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Every day.
You know, every day.
Every day. I pray about distractions every day. I really do. I really do, because they could start real small, and then one day, boom, I'm off track.
But, you know, we stay the course. You know, what is it that our little mantra, we work to get grounded, we work to stay.
Well, I don't like the word mantra, but yeah. Our saying is work to, how did I forget it?
Work to get grounded. Work to be grounded.
Right.
Work to stay grounded.
Yes, correct. Okay, yeah. So I think this was a great first episode.
Yeah. Amazing. It's so crazy. I came in here being so nervous. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to forget what I want to say.
Yeah, I know. I felt it, and that's why I was like, I remember I just started praying. You were like, oh yeah. Like, it's because it was so much going on that it was like, oh, we didn't do that yet. Yeah. That's why we're both feeling like, oh, what do we do? What do we do?
And, you know, when we talk about, you know, in one of these episodes, when we talk about peace, like, the one thing, even getting into this, I can tell in my own spiritual journey that I've been having, literally the moment that I say, it's in your hand, God, it's in your hand.
The peace that
just...
Sometimes it's literally like
Yeah, it just, a burden that just is lifted off of your shoulders. Like, prayer is everything for me. Like, I feel anxiety, I pray. I'm happy, I pray. I'm like, you know, I want to celebrate, I pray, you know, because the first thing I want to do, and I want God to be in the midst of everything that I'm doing, everything I touch, everything I say, everyone that's around me, like, because if that's not happening, I need to remove myself, you know? Yeah. So.
I'll be praying about parking spots, like, Lord, I know I got here a little late, but let there be a parking spot. You know how many times there's been a parking spot? Even with my hair, you know, I didn't know how to do this. And I was like, God, I need your help. I need you to help me do this. Right. And then all of a sudden, boom.
It's done.
He said you can do all things.
Through Christ.
All things. All does not, all. When I say all, I could be a chef right now. I could go to,
don't play with me. Have a Michelin. You know that's my favorite verse.
I could be a Michelin. I could have a Michelin star. You know what I'm saying? I could be an Olympian. Why? I could do all things. Because he said right. But I know what the verse really means, because a lot of people say, like, oh, I can do this because God's with. Yes, but also trusting in Him is what does that. It's not just Him strengthening me in doing whatever it is that I want to do.
Jeremiah 29:11.
Yeah, it's Him strengthening me in doing what He set forth for me to do. They said that He's a way maker, right? He sets the path. So if you're not on that path, you just want Him to strengthen you on your own path.
For I know the plans that I have for you.
A lot of people want God to be who they want Him to be. They don't let God be God. Everybody is so touchy when it comes to allowing God to just be. You know what I mean? To just let Him move, because sometimes it's a scary concept. It really is, because you don't, not saying you don't have control, because you do have self-control, but you're relinquishing that control. I would like for it to go this way, but if it doesn't, let your will be done. You know what I mean? It's trusting him in that to still cover you, even if you make the wrong decision, even if you make the wrong choice, if you fall, trusting that he's got you. And I don't mean trusting with, oh yeah, I trust him, or just as simple, oh yeah, trust him in here. Like truly trust him in here, trust him in your walk, trust him in your speech. Worship is a lifestyle. You know what I mean? And that's the only way that we can do a lot of the things that we're purposed to do.
Right.
Especially in the long term.
Right.
And not allow the distractions to overtake us.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a journey.
Yep.
So next episodes, we have a lot of things in store. To talk about. We do.
So much that we want to share. People that we were going to have invited onto the show to, so you can get all kinds of different, views. Right. Not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody sees things the same. But the one thing that we can tell you is that the guests that we have coming on to this show will be aligned with our beliefs.
Because although we're different in maybe the way that we can break things down or whatever, it's one spirit. You know what I mean? It's one body.
Right.
And we move in, you know what I'm saying, accordance to one another. We just deliver the messages in different ways. So we hope that you guys will stick around for that.
Right.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yep.
Do we have anything else? Instagram. We do have an Instagram.
Oh yeah, follow us on our Instagram.
We do. We'll put that in the
description.
I was about to say in the bio.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description. Just turn on your notifications.
Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to put your testimonies. Feel free to
DM us. If you have a testimony based on a something that episode that we put out that you just feel like you want to share with us, go ahead and share it with us, DM us. And, we want to be as active as we can be and engaging as we can be with those who follow us and want to, go on this journey with us. Yeah. So if that's something that you want to do, then go ahead and engage with us, because we're going to try to engage as much as we can in the comment sections and the DMs, any emails, or however we get messages from you.
So we can't just
wherever it is. Yeah. No, really. So I appreciate this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. That was so touching.
I know. It took us some time to get here. Well,
yeah. It took us time to get our friendship here, and it took us time to get here spiritually and podcast-wise. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, this is good. This is really good. And just to see how he moved in this specific episode, like I was just thinking like, oh dang, I think we might have went off topic a little bit. But the thing is like, we just went. You know what I'm saying? We just went. And if we said it and it was like, oh, well, where did that come from? I'm pretty sure somebody needed to hear it.
Right.
Right. So, next time. Till next time. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Putting in work. I'm putting in work. I answer the call. They ask why I do it.